Hey there, welcome. This is a recorded training because yesterday I did this training live and in the playback I realized I was muted the entire time. So I am re-recording this for you because I want to make sure to get this training to you as soon as possible. This is one of my favorite types of systems to set up in Canvas because it truly gives us a solution to creating class time that allows you to just teach. Okay, so that is my goal for you today. If you are new to the group, welcome. My name is Nicole Mace. I am a learning designer. I support teachers in K-12 as well as higher education, design really sustainable and enjoyable classroom experiences or teaching experiences overall that is done by leveraging the heck out of e-learning and using these tools that are first going to support us as educators and therefore better support our students. Now, I want to define what I mean when I say just be able to teach. When I'm saying that phrase, I'm talking about not having to just stand in front of your classroom and just talk at your students while they sit there and listen, right? There is a time and place to do that, but if we can remove those types of moments from our class and be able to get into a space where we can just teach them, where we can see them learning, I believe that educators are going to feel so much more fulfilled in their daily position and therefore a little less overwhelmed, a little less burnt out, a little less wanting to leave this profession that they chose to dedicate their lives to, okay? So that is my goal, is to get you to a space where you're enjoying some of that class time with your students. So like I said, I'm talking about the times where you're able to see your students learning. I know I felt this when I could actually have real conversations with my students where I can answer questions that was completely derived from their own curiosity, when I would see different groups of students grappling with ideas and concepts and their understanding of that. And I was able to have the time to support struggling students in a pace that works for them with really encouraging words and connecting with these same students that would then less likely to be disturbances in the classroom, right? Because you're making real connection with them. That all takes time that you need to create in your class. When I think about this, my first thought is, who has time for that? Okay, I was in the classroom for 7 years, and I remember feeling incredibly anxious and stressed and just kind of my skin would crawl a little bit when I would hear the bell ring because I would just be like, okay, here we go. Like, we're going to start a marathon race. And I don't want that feeling for teachers. That is really what burnt me out, along with some other things. But that is really one of the reasons why I felt like I needed to leave the classroom, because I didn't feel like I had those times to be able to just teach, to be able to just to be a guide on the side and walk my students through their own learning journey, versus having to be the sage on the stage and being on, like you're on stage all the time, okay? So I want to help you see a system in Canvas that can help you become the guide on the side and less of having to be the sage on the stage. All right, so we're going to learn how to make our own time during class periods. The first thing we need to put in place to do that is to make sure our students are coming into class with the same foundation, okay, at the beginning of class. And I'm going to talk to you about how to do that in a moment. The next thing we need to have in place in order to make more class time or make our own time is to provide appropriately leveled learning activities. Here's the kicker: with in-class support. Okay, so these are usually activities that we would send home to students. I want to give you a way to provide support to students for them to do them in class. Okay? And the third thing that we're going to be able to do if we make our own time is create space for more fulfillment as an educator. Okay, so you can hold on to being a teacher and understanding or feeling the impact that you are making on your students when you create more of this time. So the first system we need to put in place to make this happen is flipping your homework. Now, if you are flipping your homework, you're going to ensure that every student can start with the same foundation of a given concept by giving the direct instruction portion of your lesson as homework. Okay, what does this look like? In Canvas, we now have this platform that allows us to store recorded videos, so a recorded lesson, and then you're able to connect that video or add that video to a quiz. So students can watch your lesson and then complete a short quiz. This is more of an activity to see how well they understood the content, right? So it's like a check for understanding. Okay, so this is as easy as it gets when it comes to flipping your homework. Okay, I thought about wanting to flip my classroom a decade ago, but we didn't have a learning platform that we knew everyone could access and have the devices that would support this type of system. And now we do, so let's leverage the heck out of it. I do want to address the number one question I get from teachers when I am working with them and I approach the subject of wanting to flip your homework so that you have more class time available to just teach. Now, the question is always, what about the students who won't do the homework? If I give my direct instruction lesson as homework, now they're not even going to get the lesson part of it. Now they're not even going to get the direct instruction part of it. So I want to address this question by talking about what homework usually is. Okay, usually homework is a time for students to apply what they've learned in class, for them to practice a new skill, to make meaning of a new concept, all on their own. Okay, and if we're honest, maybe only a handful of our students are really ready for that solo part of learning. What if homework no longer required students to access these higher order thinking skills about new concepts? What if homework was more of a safe place for them to learn a new concept or a new skill at the pace that works for them, and then we only ask them to access the first two levels of Bloom's taxonomy? Okay, so lower order thinking skills to see how they can grab a foundation of the new concept or skill. So we're asking them to recall something about the lesson, summarize something, make a connection to something they previously knew or know. Maybe we're asking them to identify parts of the lesson. If we're only asking them to do low-level cognitive load with a piece of content that they could watch at their own pace, they're able to rewind, to rewatch, to answer the questions to the best of their ability, how do you think your homework completion rate would change? So there is a teacher on Twitter, Mr. Stevens, who stated that after he flipped his homework, the last half of his year, he had a 100% completion rate. Okay, a math teacher, 100% completion rate for homework. Students were coming to his class ready to apply what they learned. So if you are still concerned about those students who maybe at home, they don't have a quiet environment to really even watch the lesson, there's always systems that can be put in place to accommodate those students. So you can make sure that those students have the access and the opportunity to do their homework, okay? And I'm more than happy to brainstorm systems with you to make this happen in your classroom. Just send me a quick message, and I love brainstorming with teachers, kind of be a thought partner with you to figure out how you can make this happen in your class. All right, so let's talk about what you will gain by flipping the homework, okay? So first thing you're going to gain, class time. That's the goal, right? You're going to gain back much more class time if you're giving your direct instruction for homework. You're also going to gain homework that all students will be able to do without help. This is called inclusive homework. Inclusive homework means that we're not going to assume that everyone has the environment and the support, the same environment and support at home, and therefore we're not going to require things that would ask for students to have a great amount of support at home. You're also going to gain some direct instruction without interruptions. Can you even imagine what that looks like, right? I'm thinking about the times when I was trying to give a math lesson, usually a brand new Common Core math lesson, and having to do that in a classroom that doesn't have interruptions was near impossible. But think about the momentum that you can get when you can give a direct instruction lesson without interruptions, and think about the comprehension that students can have without the interruptions of someone coming into the class, the phone ringing, other students speaking up. Think about the comprehension level that could happen there. You're also going to gain comprehension checks for every lesson prior to them starting to apply or practice this new skill or concept. So you get to have a quick check for understanding, which is really, really nice to have. And it's done that you can look at the next morning even. You're also going to gain content for students to revisit. Yay! So they can go back and rewatch lessons if they're having a hard time with something. If they move from point A to point B and doing a skill and their point B is struggling, then you can have them go back to point A or go back to the previous lesson and rewatch that. So that's really, really nice to have, a great resource. You can also reuse these lessons year after year. Okay, so you're creating reusable content for yourself. The list honestly goes on and on about everything that you and your students can gain by flipping your homework. So let's continue on here. So I hope that at this point you're starting to think about maybe lessons you'd possibly like to flip. And so now I want to talk to you about my system number 2. So what we would do is you could have your recorded lesson, right, your direct instruction, added to a Canvas quiz, and then the results of that quiz lead students into mastery paths, which are leveled activities that you've assigned to them, and they can only see the assignments that are assigned to them, okay, with their specific due dates. So mastery paths allows you, again, to take the results of the quiz and give them leveled materials that they can then approach and engage with in class with you. So you can give them everything they need to get started, right? You can give them the resources, the instructions, the materials, all there in Canvas, so you can truly become the guide on the side. It's a beautiful thing. All right, again, this system is going to allow you to create class time that is spent on leveled learning activities with your support and with the support of their peers, okay? So they can have the thought process and the higher order thinking parts of learning happening with support around them. Okay, so we only have 4 steps that we need to do to make this happen. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is create your direct instruction video. One of my favorite recording platforms is Screencast-O-Matic. If you have any questions about Screencast-O-Matic, you can leave a comment below this video. I'm happy to address them, happy to make a training for you if that's helpful. That's honest, this tool I've been using for a decade, and it's very, very affordable with great tools that have never failed me. The step number 2 is to then add that video to a quick homework quiz in Canvas. Step number 3 is then to set up your mastery paths. So be able to assign a couple of activities to each one of those 3 levels, and you're going to connect it to the quiz. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a moment. The last step is that you're able to then fill up your teacher heart by being able to actually watch students practice, help them get through discussions, and implement new skills and concepts during your class time. Okay? So I hope that you're really starting to think about what lesson you might want to flip, okay? What lesson you might want to set up this system to try. And so if you're starting to think about that, what would be really encouraging to the other members in this community is for you to add a comment below the video and just name the lesson that you're thinking about flipping, okay? Or maybe a unit that you're thinking about flipping, or any questions you have about flipping your lessons or setting up these systems in Canvas. Let's have other teachers know that you're willing to try something new, if that means that you get to have more class time to be the teacher that you want to be versus maybe someone who is feeling incredibly overwhelmed and stressed out. Let's talk about ways that can help you enjoy your teaching time. All right, so now let's do the fun part. Let's walk through the steps of setting up the system together. So I've pulled you into a demo Canvas course now, and I want to walk through the steps on how to set up your recorded video into a Canvas quiz, which is connected to Mastery Paths. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just add a quiz to my module. So I'll go to modules and hit the plus button. I really like adding elements to a module versus adding a new quiz in quizzes, because I can essentially tell Canvas where I want this to go first before I create it. So from this module, I'm going to add a new component, which is going to be a quiz. I'm going to say new quiz, and I'm just going to give it a quick name of homework quiz here. Add the item. Any new items in Canvas are going to be dropped to the bottom of the module. So when I go to the bottom of the module, I'm going to select the name of that quiz. Okay, then I'm going to go edit in top right corner, and this is when we're going to add the video, the recorded video, to the instructions of the quiz. Okay, so first I want to point out that there are 3 tabs at the top. The first tab is going to be the details. I always encourage faculty to give really explicit directions so students don't have to question what they're supposed to do here, right? So I would say that you want to give instructions first, step 1, step 2, step 3, and within those steps, I'm going to embed my recorded video. So right now I'm going to jump into my Screencast-O-Matic account. This is my cloud account with Screencast-O-Matic, very affordable. And I want to show you, here's a quick video, one of the last videos I made. And so what I'll do is I'll just go to the share part of my video details. And I'm going to scroll down. So first you can see I have a quick direct link that I can just link in the instructions. If students click on this link, they're going to be shifted to a new tab for students to watch this video in the Screencast-O-Matic player. Instead of doing that, I want to embed this video in Canvas so students never have to leave Canvas to complete their assignment. So what I'll do is I'll just scroll down to the section that says Video Embed, and then I'm going to change the size to tiny. Now, it's actually not a tiny, tiny video. It's a perfect size for a Canvas page, and I'll show you in a moment. Then I'm just going to go down, and it's a whole copy paste. So here's the code preview. I'm just going to click copy code. Okay. I hope this HTML coding is not overwhelming for you. You don't have to do anything to it. It's truly a copy and paste situation. So I'm going to go back to my homework quiz in Canvas, and instead of working in the rich text editor, I'm just going to switch it to the HTML editor. So you can see the 2 like carrots and a diagonal slash tool there. If I click that, it's going to flip it into HTML. So all I'm going to do is go to the next line and do Control V, or right click and paste to add my video. Now all I'm going to do is switch that HTML back to the rich text editor with all the tools that we know and love. Now we have the video right here for students to watch with all the controls here. Of course, closed captioning is always added to every one of my videos. And they never have to leave Canvas in order to answer these questions. So you can work through some of the settings here for quizzes, whatever works best for you and your students. And then you can also, of course, add your 3 to 5 homework questions here, making sure to stick to the, I would say the level 1 or level 2 of Bloom's taxonomy verbs for what you're asking of students from a homework flipped lesson. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, so that's already system 1. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to connect this quiz to Mastery Paths. So what I'm going to tell Canvas by clicking on Mastery Paths is that the results of this quiz are going to assign specific activities to students based on their outcome, based on the results. So the first thing I want to show you is there are only 3 levels here, which is nice, keep it simple. And you can set the range. So if you say, 80% or higher is proficient, and this is going to be my top level students, the next level could be something like maybe 60 or 50 and higher. Those are my mid-level students. And then anything between 0 and 50 points are going to be my students who need extra support. Okay, so here's the fun part. Now clicking the plus button here, I'm going to be able to select the activities that are going to pertain to just that level of students. And they're only going to see the assignments that are assigned to them. Okay, so I'm going to select maybe this one here. And let's see, I'm in Unit 4 here, so let's see what we find. Maybe this one as well. I'm going to add those 2 items, and we have them added right here. I also want to point out that this and can be selected and change it to or. Choice is a powerful motivator for students, so always think about how you can give them a choice. Okay, so that way, whatever one they choose, they're not penalized for not doing the other option. Okay, so you can add the same activities to any of the levels. You just want to make sure that you are bringing in some scaffolding or some support as you move down the levels, right? So maybe for my mid-level students, I'm going to look for my vocabulary lesson I have for them, or activity rather, and we'll do these 3 here for them, and maybe they have a choice between these 2 after they do the vocabulary. And then for my struggling students here, I want them to go back to the previous unit and make sure they get the vocabulary. And then in unit 4, it's just most important that they get that the option here for them. Okay, so I have them go back to the previous unit and maybe do some vocabulary from there. This is just pretend, right? It's totally made up. But I just want to show you how easy it is to connect the result of your homework quiz or your direct instruction lesson, check for comprehension, into leveled activities. So here we have set up in your class time the exact activities students need to do that are leveled appropriately for them. The materials that they need are already set up in the activities, along with due dates that could be set up just for this group. Okay, so here is what your mastery pass looks like. So in less than 10 minutes, I was able to add the video, set up the questions, if we had questions, and create some mastery paths. So then I truly get to become the guide on the side, because Canvas is able to hold all of this for me and do a lot of the manual tasks that I would be doing in class for me. Okay, so I hope this has started to jog your kind of brainstorming muscle or excitement. I know I was always excited to try something new in my classroom about how this is truly going to free up some time for you in your class so that you can do more of what you love and less of those manual tasks or these time restricted tasks. Okay. If you have any questions about this training or about the components, or want to do a little thought partnering, brainstorming together, I'm more than happy to do so. This is my favorite thing to do. So feel free to reach out to me, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. I really look forward to seeing what lessons that you're thinking about flipping in the comments below.